से। चिंटुआ छत पर भाग जा और जाके अलमारी पर चढ़ जा। कहाँ जाता हूँ? अच्छा हुआ वो बिल्ली मुझे छोड़कर चिंटुआ के पीछे पड़ गई। अरे बाबू तू तो बुलडोजर लेकर गया था तो उसे कहाँ छोड़ दिया? अरे मम्मी बुलडोजर उस बिल्ली के घर के पास ही खड़ा है, उसे वहीं छोड़कर भाग आया। अरे तो जल्दी जा और बुलडोजर लेकर आ, नहीं तो तुम्हारे पापा तुम्हें बहुत पीटेंगे। ठीक है लेकर आता हूँ, तब तक पापा को मत बताना। बाल बाल बच गया इस खतरनाक बिल्ली से, लगता है अब मैं बच जाऊंगा। अरे बाप रे अब तो अलमारी को ही गिराने लगी बिल्ली। मम्मी जल्दी ऊपर आओ, अलमारी गिरने वाला है। रुको डंडा लेकर आती हूँ और बिल्ली को भगाती हूँ। अरे मम्मी क्या कर रही हो, जल्दी आओ ना, अलमारी अब गिर ही जाएगा। आ गई डंडा लेकर आ गई। अलमारी गिर गया रे मम्मी। अरे बिल्ली मौसी मत काटना मुझे। अरे मम्मी जल्दी आओ, मैं अलमारी के नीचे दब गया हूँ। अरे चिंटुआ तू अलमारी के नीचे कैसे दब गया? अरे मम्मी ये मत पूछो कि कैसे दबा, पहले मुझे जल्दी बचाओ, मेरे दोनों पैर दर्द कर रहे हैं और बिल्ली भी मुझे काटने वाली है। बिल्ली तू मेरे चिंटुआ को काटना मत, नहीं तो इस डंडे से तुम्हें मार दूंगी। तू मुझे डरा रही है, अब देखो मैं कैसे तुझे डंडे से मारती हूँ। अरे बचाओ रे चिंटुआ। अरे मैं कैसे बचाऊं तुम्हें, मैं खुद यहाँ से निकल नहीं पा रहा हूँ। अरे लगता है उस बुलडोजर के पास एक भी बिल्ली नहीं है। अब चलता हूँ धीरे से वहाँ। अच्छा तो ये छोटा लड़का यहाँ अपना बुलडोजर लेने आया है, अभी बताता हूँ उसे। अब इस कांटेदार कैक्टस को बुलडोजर के सीट पर रख देता हूँ। अब मजा आएगा जब वो लड़का इस पर बैठेगा और ये कैक्टस उसके पिछवाड़े में धंसेगा। अब धीरे से बुलडोजर को लेकर यहाँ से भागता हूँ। अरे क्या हो गया मेरे पिछवाड़े में, बाप रे दादा बहुत तेज हवा है। अरे बाप रे बुलडोजर के सीट पर कौन रख दिया कैक्टस? मैंने रखा। क्या मजा आया? जब तू पोटी करेगा तो और भयानक दर्द होगा। क्या? अरे ये बिल्ली तो बहुत ही ज्यादा कटा है, पहले बाबू और चिंटुआ को दौड़ाया और अब ये मुझे काटने के लिए दौड़ा रही है। अरे कोई तो बचाओ रे मुझे इस बिल्ली से। अरे मम्मी तुम कहाँ भाग गई मुझे छोड़ के? जल्दी आओ और मुझे निकालो यहाँ से, ये अलमारी बहुत भारी है। अरे चिंटू की आवाज कहाँ से आ रही है? अरे कोई तो निकालो मुझे। अरे लगता है आवाज ऊपर से आ रही है, चल कर देखती हूँ। अरे चिंटुआ तू अलमारी के नीचे क्यों सोया हुआ है? अरे यहाँ मैं सोया नहीं हूँ, नीचे दब गया हूँ। जल्दी निकाल चिंकिया मुझे। रुको मैं अलमारी को उठाती हूँ। अरे चिंटू ये अलमारी तो बहुत भारी है, मुझसे उठ ही नहीं पा रहा। अरे उठाओ ना जल्दी, क्या कर रही हो? चुप रहो, मैं कोशिश कर रही हूँ ना। अरे चिंटू चिंकी और बाबू कहाँ हो? जल्दी यहाँ आओ मेरे पास, देखो मैं तुम तीनों के लिए बड़ा आइसक्रीम लेकर आया हूँ। अरे नीचे पापा आइसक्रीम लेकर आए हैं, अब जल्दी मुझे निकाल चिंकिया, आइसक्रीम खाने जाना है मुझे। क्या आइसक्रीम? अरे मैं खाऊंगी आइसक्रीम, मैं खाऊंगी आइसक्रीम। अरे चिंकी मुझे यहाँ अकेला छोड़ के मत जाओ, मुझे भी आइसक्रीम खाना है। पापा पापा जल्दी दो आइसक्रीम मुझे। हाँ ये लो।
just from the weather. It was the weight of everything she had left behind. Her eyes returned to the stranger. He stood beneath the archway, hands shoved into the pockets of his worn coat. The leather of his shoes was scuffed, the soles fraying, like he had walked long roads that left stories etched into every crease. For a moment, she noticed a corner of a photograph peeking from his wallet as he adjusted it in his pocket. A small girl, smiling at a camera, sunlight caught in her hair, too small to be his daughter, yet somehow intimate, like a memory he carried close. She felt an unexpected pang, a mirror reflected in his quiet presence. The struggle he bore, the weight he carried, it was hers too, in a different language. Loneliness, loss, the gnawing need to reclaim what had been stolen, they were the same. She realized, with a flicker of fear and recognition, that he might understand her in a way no one else could. Thunder rolled faintly above, low and insistent. The rain was heavier now, rattling the station's glass, echoing through the empty corridors that flanked the platforms. Her hands tightened around the strap of her bag. She wanted to leave, to step back into her controlled, measured life, to forget this strange, dangerous magnet drawing her forward. But every instinct, every memory of what had been taken, pushed her closer. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered to no one, or maybe to him. Her voice was almost drowned by the patter of rain. He didn't answer. He just tilted his head slightly, watching her, as if he understood the conversation without words. And in that silence, a question formed, stubborn and sharp. Was this fate, or something more deliberate? Manipulation, perhaps, or the unspoken bond of shared battles? She glanced at the suitcase again, the red scarf now soaked in the reflections of passing lights, and her chest ached. It wasn't just an object anymore. It was a signal, a tether to what she had lost, and maybe to what she was about to risk. The stranger shifted, and she noticed the photo disappear into his pocket, hidden but remembered. His shadow fell across the wet tiles, long and uncertain, a presence she couldn't ignore. She wanted to step away. She should step away. But something in him, the quiet, the weight of unspoken history, held her in place, trembling yet unwilling to move. The rain grew heavier, the thunder closer, and neither of them spoke, though the air between them vibrated with unsaid promises, dangers, and the hint of inevitable collision. The world moved around them, but here, in the rain-soaked station, everything else ceased. And she did not leave. She turned toward the exit, letting the rain soak through the folds of her coat, each step heavier than the last. The crowd parted and closed around her like tides, their faces curious, impatient, judgmental. A woman brushed past, her gaze sharp and assessing, as if she could see the weight of every choice pressing on the girl's shoulders. She paused at the threshold, wanting to disappear into the anonymity outside, to leave the station and all its ghosts behind. But something made her stop, a subtle shift in the air, a presence she couldn't ignore. He was there, standing slightly apart from the others, the stranger's eyes fixed on her like a tether she couldn't cut. In his hands, he held the small, cracked leather suitcase. The red scarf peeked from the corner, wet and vivid against the dull leather. Some people carry more than just bags. They carry silence. And some carry everything that was ever taken from them. Her knees weakened, and she had to clutch the strap of her bag just to stay upright. She wanted to run, to scream, to vanish into the city. Instead, she walked slowly toward him, feeling every heartbeat like a drum, every breath a defiance. He made no move to hand it to her. He simply watched, his expression unreadable, as if weighing the cost of this small act against a lifetime of shadows. The suitcase wasn't just an object anymore. It was a bridge, a warning, a challenge. The murmurs of the other passengers were faint but real. A man with a newspaper glanced sideways, eyebrow raised. A child tugged at her mother's sleeve, whispering a question, and she felt the invisible gaze of the world pressing in, judging the hesitation, the indecision. Her hands shook violently as she reached for the suitcase, and for a moment, the rain blurred everything, and the station dissolved into fragments of light and shadow. You don't have to do this alone," he said softly, the words almost lost in the rhythm of the rain. They weren't a command. They weren't a promise. Just a whisper that felt heavier than thunder. She swallowed, lips dry, chest tight. She wanted to leave. She wanted to collapse. She wanted to fall apart and never look back. Yet, her gaze remained locked on the red scarf on the suitcase on him. And in that frozen heartbeat, she understood it wasn't about the bag. It was never about the bag. She stepped closer and stopped. The suitcase waited between them, soaked in rain and memory, silent but full of everything unspoken. The world moved around them. They didn't, and still, nothing resolved. The rain had slowed to a drizzle, leaving the station slick with reflections of neon and sunlight. She followed him silently, each step echoing against the polished tiles, until he led her down a narrow corridor she had never noticed before. She started, but he held up a hand. "Wait, I need you to see something." He opened a small door at the end of the hall, revealing a sparse office, sunlight pooling over a polished desk. Papers, neat and intimidating, were stacked like towers of authority. A nameplate glinted in the light. Warren Cole, CEO. Her heart stuttered. Warren Cole, the very man whose company she had sent a desperate application to, the same one that could decide whether she had a future or none at all. She swallowed hard, realizing that the quiet stranger had been more than he seemed all along. And the suitcase, lying on the floor between them, seemed to grow heavier in her mind. She knelt to touch it, hesitating before